it's Erin with Simon Family Investment Ventures. I got a nice quick show for you guys today. We're going to try to stay on top and updated with the geopolitical issues of the world as well as the geoeconomic issues. This way, you can make the best strategic decisions for you, your household, and if things get a little volatile, which markets are predicting, it doesn't necessarily mean that you guys on a personal level will feel it like those who are wildly unprepared. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. We are also going to continue our fifth dimensional ascension here in the beautiful age of Aquarius. We're going to talk about that. So I have a really good show for you today, but it is going to be kind of short. Hi, dear Bit. Hi, Mr. Gamble the Prince. Thank you so much for joining. So, really quick, we're going to get into it. I have no idea why when I do the show on my iPad, I can't share my screen. The only way I can do a presentation is if like I upload a PowerPoint. That's so ridiculous. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, but it still doesn't let me share. Because I would like for you guys to see my videos. Moving forward, what I'm going to make sure that I do next show is put all of the links to the articles that I'm discussing with you in the drop down. I'm going to make sure I do that next show. I'm still trying to get a little bit acclimated to doing the show again. So forgive me. But let's head into it. So the very first article I'm going to talk to you about is by Graphic Business. You guys can do a Google search. Graphic Business, and why should I care if the US dollar falls? Everyone, everywhere should care because right now the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. You guys know all about BRICS Nation and how the BRICS Nation is trying to come up with a strategic way to offshore the dollar and to drop it from its world reserve status by forming the BRICS Alliance. You guys are very well abreast on that. I am talking to people who may be new to the show, but the US dollar has seen some big declines in recent months. Currencies naturally rise and fall all the time, but the recent drop in the US dollar has been particularly dramatic. The dollar's been falling. It says the dollar was rising in the autumn in the run-up to 2024 presidential election, which gave us relatively strong U.S. economic growth and continued to strengthen after the president's victory in November. We had hoped that that trend would continue. However, talk of this trade policy is having a huge effect, as many investors thought the tariffs that was promised to bring in to push up inflation, forcing the U.S. Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, to raise interest rates and at least not cut them as fast as expected. The prospect of higher rates in the United States makes the dollar more attractive, as it means investors will make more money on their cash in dollars compared to other currencies. But the calculus has shifted in recent months as the details of his tariffs have emerged, often followed by pauses, or in the case of China, extensions, leaving much uncertainty surrounding the impact that it will have. The U.S. growth is now widely expected to weaken. When the growth of a country weakens, it usually weakens their currency. That has had a really big impact on the dollar, which has seen steep falls. The president's attack on the Fed Chair Jerome Powell for not cutting interest rates also appeared to have added pressure to the US dollar. The value of all currencies go up and down, influenced by a lot of different factors, such as inflation expectations and central bank policies. But the dollar index, which measures its strength against a set of currencies, has fallen significantly to its lowest levels in the last 3 years. Now, is this unusual? Kind of. The US dollar is usually seen as an investment, as a safe investment in troubled times. So the sharp drops in the currency, as well as the recent sell-off in the U.S. government bonds, also generally considered a safe U.S. asset, are unusual. The fall of the dollar after the president's Liberation Day tariff announcement was very shocking. Um, it's almost like they weren't prepared for it, which is weird, right? For several years, the market's been buying the U.S. growth story, the U.S. stock. The market's been outperforming other stock markets because you guys know they've been inflating and propping this thing up. It's like, I remember a little bit before Simon expanded his consciousness, he said they propped the dollar up like a cheap air mattress. And I thought that was funny. It just came back to my mind. Anyway, so it says the U.S. stock market's been outperforming other stock markets, and suddenly you had economists thinking tariffs would push the U.S. into recession. She pointed to a massive sell-off of the U.S. stocks, U.S. bonds, and the dollar. This has raised significant speculation about whether the drop might be a signal for a more far-reaching turn away from the U.S. as well as away from the dollar. What does a weakened dollar mean? So for those of you like, all right, Aaron, you said all of that. What the hell does it mean? The first time ordinary Americans might notice a weaker dollar, especially when you don't travel much and you have other currencies to relate it to, um, should be like right now. But however, most Americans notice it when they go abroad, as their money doesn't go as far. Some places you go, your money go real far. However, while foreign tourists in the U.S. will find their currency will buy them more. Movements in the dollar also have massive impact internationally, more so than swings in other currencies do. That's because, again, it is the world's primary reserve currency. So it's held by central banks around the world in very large quantities as part of their foreign exchange reserves. Central banks use these dollars in international transactions to pay for international debt or to support domestic exchange rates. In other words, all of the like the imports that they have and other businesses that they have with the US, they have to settle those payments in US dollars and not in their local currency. It's the main currency used in international trade, and around half of the world trade invoices are done or settled in US dollars. A fall in the dollar means that US good exports become cheaper, but imported goods may become way more expensive due to the weaker currency, as well as any direct impact from tariffs. So the goods that are coming into the United States are going to get more expensive. Why is that? Because the dollar is the US world reserve. That means that America had to, what you would call, kind of gut their industrial system. This is why the majority of the industrial manufacturing goods are done overseas, right? We really don't have factories and stuff like that like we used to. That is what the Triflin dilemma was. In order for you to have that volume of dollars available abroad to be settled in your currency, you have to have all these industrial sites in those other countries, in those other areas, and you're left with nothing. Now, your president's talking about bringing the industrial system, the manufacturing system back to the United States, which we all know isn't really going to work because of wages and all of that other stuff. However, the weakening of the dollar, like I said, is going to cause your goods to rise in price. It is going to cause what you call a hyperinflation. I know a lot of us are Bitcoiners, a lot of us have altcoins, and I hear a lot of people in the community basically be like, so what, the dollar ain't doing anything. You use your dollars to pay bills, you use your dollars to pay the rent. We are not actively using our altcoins or our crypto, I should say, right, to do everyday mundane transactions. Two, if your rent goes up, your groceries are going up. I'm not sure where they're getting the gas from, but if the gas goes up and so on and so forth, that's less money for you to invest in your assets. So that's why I always want to talk to the people who just kind of tilt your crown a little bit. You do want to keep up with what the US dollar is doing and how that affects you. Now, we're seeing that the dollar is weakening. Many of you who check Bitcoin, Bitcoin was somewhere around 94,000 today. Yay, way up from the 80s that it's been hanging out in. And we are looking for targets of 110,000, hopefully very soon. So we know when the dollar's weak, Bitcoin's strong, right? But you operate in a very, I'm gonna call it, multifaceted portfolio. The dollar has to be part of your portfolio if, in fact, you are, you know, doing finance, doing business, if you're an entrepreneur, however, even if you have a 9 to 5 and you have your Bitcoin, you have silver, you have gold, you have your altcoins, the dollar is still part of your portfolio because you need it to do your everyday thing. It is still part of your lifestyle. So it's very, very important that you stay on top of what the dollar's doing, what your president is saying and doing, how that affects markets, how that affects the volition of the dollar, which is the movement of the dollar in the economy. All right, let's move on to the Feds. So it says the Fed just quietly primed Bitcoin and crypto for a huge Wall Street price game changer. That's great news. This article is actually from Friday. It says Bitcoin and crypto prices had roared back as the leak reveals the U.S. president radical plan for crypto are causing growing panic among the establishment. The Bitcoin prices climbed towards 100,000 per Bitcoin, which is up from April lows around 75,000, as bullish traders bet the market is heading towards a $19 trillion tipping point. Now, as fears swirl, crypto contagion can blow up the financial system, which they are really, really scared of because they still haven't figured out a way to manipulate it. There is no way to manipulate it. One of the great and wonderful characteristics of crypto is the ledger, and the ledger is very transparent. We are able to see transactions in real time on Glassdoor. I'm not on Glassdoor, on Glassnode. Here we go. The Federal Reserve has quietly rolled back rules that deter Wall Street from engaging with Bitcoin and crypto, just as international institutional investors push up the Bitcoin price. Why are they pushing up the Bitcoin price? Because they are buying the hell out of Bitcoin. I talked to you guys in the show earlier last week that crypto investors are gobbling up all the crypto on exchanges. So for your Cash Apps, for your other exchanges, your other popular exchanges, it is very important that you are consistently dollar cost averaging because there's going to come a point where they are going to kind of batter down the Joe Bag of Donuts, the retail investor, the everyday guy who is trying to get their Bitcoin together. They're buying so much of it that the exchange reserves of Bitcoin is the lowest it's ever been. It says the Federal Reserve has announced it is withdrawing guidance originally issued under Democratic Party president that deterred Wall Street banks from engaging in crypto and stablecoin activities by requiring them to get advance approval. They're rolling all of that back because they have to get involved so that they don't miss out. It says the board is rescinding its 2022 supervisory letter establishing the expectation that state member banks provide advance notification of planned or current crypto asset activities. The Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve wrote in a statement, the move sees the Fed join the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, as you know, the FDIC, and the Office of the Comptroller of Currency in withdrawing their own statements that called on banks to be extra vigilant around crypto-related risks. They're like, F that, we got to get involved or we're going to miss out and we're going to miss money. Under this guidance, the Fed has warned banks to be wary of volatility, legal uncertainty, and liquidity risks when considering whether to provide crypto-related services or take on crypto companies as clients. Now that y'all see the US dollar tanking, they're like, we have to jump in this alternative route, which is crypto. So I just wanted to share that with you. I thought that was kind of poetic justice, right? Let me just check the chat real quick, y'all. Hi, Michelle. I'm happy to see you on live too, sweetheart. We're just doing some market updates, keeping you guys abreast on the US dollar, what's going on with that. The banks are doing because the US dollar's faltering is the word I would use. The next article I want to read to you, this is a CNN article. I never, ever, ever do a show for doom and gloom or fear mongering. So you know that they write these articles. These articles are written with fear. They're trying to keep a fear-based society and all of that jazz. But it is important to understand the severity of what's going on and to be able to stay grounded and strategic in your own personal areas of the things that you need to do. So it says China sends a stern video message to the US president that we won't kneel down. In a sharp rebuke of the US president's trade war, China's foreign ministry posted a social media video that calls on the international community to stand up against America's bully leader. So all of that um, weaponizing of the US dollar is coming to bite them in the tail. Bowing to a bully is like drinking poison to quench thirst. It only deepens the crisis, China said in its video, narrated in English and subtitled in Chinese. History has proven compromise won't earn you mercy. Kneeling only invites more bullying. We will not kneel down. The video narrates a history lesson of what China considers American economic aggression, forcing companies like Toshiba and Alstom to break up financial crisis and bankruptcy and sending Japan's economy into decades of anemic growth. By contrast, China portrayed itself as a free trade haven with which other countries can safely invest and partner. Now, y'all know China be out here colonizing too. Y'all know they all in the West Indies taking over everything, right? So it's the pot calling the kettle black and rusty, all right? I find it funny that they say that it does say the right thing, right? So the words are very accurate. It says it portrays itself as a free trade haven in which other countries can safely invest and partner. China will stand firm no matter how hard the wind blows. This was said in the video. Someone has to step forward, torch in hand, and shatter the fog and illuminate the path ahead. Why is this troublesome, right? I don't have to read the rest of the article to you. But why is this troublesome? It's troublesome because China owns a lot of US debt. And if the US defaults on that debt, we're in trouble. China owns a lot of real estate in the United States, which I could have sworn somewhere back in the day, we in a new timeline, new dimension. So I try not to rely on my past memory, but other countries weren't supposed to own airlines. They weren't supposed to own real estate and so on and so forth in a foreign country, right? Because you don't want to get to the point where they own so much of it that this is basically their country. Hi, cousin Tommy. Thank you so much for joining. Where they basically own this country. China owns a lot of real estate in New York. Y'all look it up. They own airlines they shouldn't own. There's a lot of stuff going on in California that they own, and they own a significant amount of US debt. So, from a diplomatic standpoint, it's really not a good idea to goad them, or provoke them, to me, right? You owe me money, you better not provoke me. And that's basically what America is doing, right? I don't know. I don't know what the president knows, what he doesn't know. I don't know what his cabinet advises him of. A lot of people were riding on the hope that the sitting current US president was going to be good for the economy. And we are looking and seeing how wrong that was. Two, the approach to this presidency, this administration, is almost like y'all don't know how this stuff works, right? And I'm talking like the stuff you learn in social studies, the stuff you learn in American history, right? Stuff you learned in business law 101. It's almost like y'all didn't take those classes. So I'm concerned about some of the things I see, especially when I'm like, some of the moves you're making wouldn't make sense to a ninth grader in high school, because that's not, it's almost like y'all don't know how it works. But far be it from us to, have an opinion about what's going on with the sitting president. However, China has been sending multiple warnings to the United States. Multiple warnings. From the luxury situation with all of the luxury bags, and the luxury manufacturers saying, like, hey, forget all of them, just buy it direct from us, to this warning that we will not be bullied, we will not kneel down. It's getting to a point now where there's going to be a situation. So, and the situation to me looks inevitable. I'm going to be very honest, right? He just got in office in January. There's still 3 more years to go of that, and the rest of this year. The situation almost looks inevitable to me. So it's very important to, Simon and I used to always tell you guys, stay prepared, be prepared, because you never know what stupid thing is going to jump off. Um, Last article. So this is from the economy. It says this is a special preview for June of 2025. The coming economic nightmare. Trump's tariffs could cause stagflation for the first time in multiple decades, and it may go on for a long, long time. In the 1970s, it cost much more to print a menu than it does today. Restaurants didn't change them often because it cost so much. When prices rose, they'd retain their old menu but affix little stickers to the new menu or handwritten pricing atop the previous ones. When the prices rose, especially rapidly, the stickers accumulated in stubby columns rising to the top of the menus. A bored child may sit there and just peel off all the stickers with their fingernail, and like a young archaeologist, reveal the lost world. Stagflation is the term that came into use to describe the era of stagnation plus inflation. Until recently, it seemed like a relic of the disco era, but the economic chaos of the current sitting president has resurfaced a very old word. Stock markets are warning of a recession. JP Morgan Chase just put out an article the other day that said they changed it from 40% to a 60% chance of inevitable recession. Bond markets are anticipating inflation. Perhaps one market is wrong or the other or both. More likely, they portend the return of a very half-forgotten nightmare. I don't have to read the whole article to you. You guys get it because they're going to, it's the Atlantic. So they're going to make it real poetic and beautiful and so on and so forth. But the point that I'm making is you have to make sure that your household is personally ready. Okay, you want to stay stacking, stay stacking, stay stacking, whether that's sats, stacking your precious metals. Right now, if people are asking me, yes, you can buy gold, but I think your money has a more emphatic impact on silver. Okay. Um, each aspect of your portfolio has its own robust diversity in it, right? So you can have physical silver. There's a whole portfolio. If you guys need me to talk about it, I'm happy to go through it with you. There's a whole portfolio you can create for your silver, from your American Silver Eagles to your constitutional silver to your bricks. Those are your 2 ounce, 3 ounce, 5 ounce, 10 ounce. To your hand pour, to your art mint. There's a whole, you can create a diverse portfolio in one asset, right? When you hear diversify your portfolio, you can do it that way and only have like 3 assets, but a robust portfolio for each of the three. Gold, same thing. Hey, cousin Shango. No, I think when I jump to look at the article, it just goes black. I don't know why on my iPad, I guess it's considered a mobile device, it doesn't let me share the article. I might have to start using the laptop again, which I kind of don't like doing because I bought the iPad to do the show because that's what Simon wanted to do. He wanted a new iPad to do the show. So I'm gonna try to stick with that for now, but I might have to start using my laptop so you guys can see the articles. In the meanwhile, I am going to make sure that I put the links to the articles that I'm accessing. Some of the articles you do have to pay for, like the Business Insider. I think I have a yearly subscription to that. So you may, not be able to access some of the articles that I share with you unless you pay for a subscription. But for the most part, you get the gist of what we're discussing for each article. In 2025, there is no such thing as domestic, meaning there really aren't any geological borders when it comes. Hi, Cousin Bobby. There are really no geological borders when it comes to news in 2025. Whether, like I said, it's economic, geopolitical, industrial, manufacturing, science, no matter what it is, it's an open border. So everything is relevant to you. Everything affects you. Everything affects your economy. A lot of people are like, oh, well, that's not happening in the US. All of the things that are happening in the world do affect the US economy. The things the US economy does affects all things in the world. So you want to kind of step into that oneness a little bit and be more vigilant in some of the things that are going on. Now, you don't want to be bogged down by it. You don't want it to depress you or drag you down or anything like that. But you just want to be aware so you can make the moves you need to make in order to prosper and to do well, right? We're building wealth. That's what we're trying to do. It's going to seem like it's more and more difficult, but you have to remember that wealth starts here first. It starts in the mindset. Um, you are you're wanting to position yourself spiritually, emotionally, in a way to magnetize that wealth to you. Yes, your body does live in reality, so therefore you do have to do some practical things in order to marry the two, which is the dollar cost averaging, which is setting aside the funds for your investments, even if that's at the sacrifice or the risk of maybe more fun things that you'd like to do. But you also have to see your lifestyle as a robust, diverse, multifaceted portfolio. And that's what some of the people in the community miss. They're so tunnel vision on just their coin, just the Bitcoin, or whatever it is that they're investing in, that they're not realizing that other aspects of their lifestyle do affect the thing that they're investing in, right? Money is or currency is energy. Everything's energy. So there's a certain aspect you do have to bring to that energy for it to do what you are intentioning it to do. With that being said, Sunday was a very powerful full moon. It's the full moon in Taurus. Even though it's Tuesday, we are still in that energy. That means it is not too late for you to set whatever intention you want to set. And the full moon of Taurus energy is supposed to help bring that thing in. Taurus is about stability. So that's personal finance, house, home, career, all of those little facets of your life, the practical facets of your life. So, if anything, the Taurus and full moon, when you're setting your intentions, if you're setting your intentions towards finance and stability, promotion, things like that, maybe new home, new car, new job, new location, this is the time to set that intention. Currently, we're not in any retrograde. So, what does that mean? It means that there are no astrological entities that are in retrograde or kind of seeming like they're moving backwards that is preventing you from getting done the things you need to get done. It literally means that the stars are aligned for you to successfully begin whatever project you're trying to begin or complete whatever project you're trying to complete. We won't be in any retrogrades until I think May 4th. Right? So when we talk about timing, time is money. And I'm going to keep telling you this. Time is money. If time is money, that means you need to be in alignment with time in order to magnetize your money. I'm going to say that one more time. You need to be in alignment with time in order to magnetize your money. Okay? They spend a lot of time trying to misalign you from absolutely anything that has you as a stable being on planet Earth. Right? We all know there should be 13 months with 28 days. Why there are 12 months with April got 30 days, January got 31 days, February got 28 days. Why they do it like that is to misalign you from time. They say millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do. And billionaires, not only do they don't even really follow astrology, they follow the Maseroth. That is what the Bible talks about, the Maseroth. Okay, you guys can look that quote up on Google. That means they are aligning with time. The Bible says that the stars and the sun and the moon were for a time and for seasons. That is to align your spiritual being with time. When you align yourself properly with time and proper timing and do the things you need to do in proper timing, you will magnetize the wealth you are looking for. You will magnetize the opportunity you're looking for. You will call forth to you magically, and not really magically, it's just because you're aligned. You will call forth the right place at the right time with the right person, with the right opportunity, in the right space, under the right conditions. Is that related to gematria? Gematria also has a relation, not necessarily to time, but to symbolism and numbers. But yes, because numbers also represent time. So yes, it's all related because the universe, one song, we are all in oneness. So everything is interconnected. Everything is related. But because we deal so heavily in finance, I think it's very important to remind you that being in alignment with time and naturally moving with the flow of time and doing what's called to do in that time, you will magnetize the money because time is money. And that is something that the billionaires do. It is something the multimillionaires do. They align them. They don't do business during Mercury retrograde. They just won't. They won't sign a contract. They won't even read the contract during that time. So understanding your retrogrades, your full moons, your new moons, what to do. Some people are like, oh, that sounds like witchcraft and this, that, and the third. How's that going for you? How is that going for you? Even in the Bible, they moved by time and seasons. They did not do anything out of the time and seasons, and they lived in a time where they naturally knew what to do. We were separated from all of that so that you could be further oppressed and your energetic energy could be siphoned off at very high levels. I've been stagnating. Bobby T, look, that's my email address right there. You message me, we can have a talk, and I can kind of get you going. So cousin Bobby brought up something that's really, really, really important. Stagnating, right? So like still water, y'all know when water is still, when it's not rushing, it stinks. It starts to decay, and it's water. Water is a cleansing agent. How can it possibly decay? Because it's not moving. One of the things I would suggest is for you to ground. I've been getting a lot of people telling me, not a lot of people, about 4 or 5 people, told me that they live in situations where grounding is difficult for one reason or the other. Let's get creative, okay? Get you a box, like a carton or the lid of a box. I don't have the lid of a box, but like the lid of a box. Even if it's like the lid of a shoebox. Put you some soil in there, some fertile soil. Go buy some from Walmart, fertile soil. Put it in the lid of the box and just sit somewhere where you can put your feet in it. right? If you can put that soil in the sun during the day, whether it's on your deck, on your windowsill, or something, you do want that soil to get sun, because what you're doing is not only are you grounding, but you want to be anchoring in your intentions. When you put your feet in that soil, you're literally growing whatever it is your intention is, whatever it is your vision is. But you're an electric being. You have to connect with the earth, which is also electric. You are a microcosm of the earth, and the earth is a macrocosm of you. If you feel stagnant, make sure you are putting your feet on the earth. For those of you who don't have private backyards or don't have the opportunity to walk outside barefoot, create the element in your home, right? Get you a box or some type of container you can put the soil in. You can just put your feet in there. Put your phones away. When you are grounding, put your phone away. Give the universe that 5, 10, 20, 30 hour long with just you and the universe. We are not quieting ourselves anymore. There's so many distractions, and those distractions are on purpose. They're to keep you from tapping in, right? If you ask anybody where the kingdom of heaven is, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna point. You ask the kid, where's heaven? They're gonna point to the blue sky above. The kingdom of heaven is within. Google it. Ask Chat GPT where the kingdom of heaven is. Ask Chat on where the kingdom of heaven is. It's within. So you want to get yourself aligned. When you are aligning with the earth, that means when you have your feet, you have your hands in that soil, in that dirt, outside with the sun, the sky, there's probably the moon still hanging out there. You probably can still see some stars depending on how early you do this. You are aligning with natural abundance. You are aligning with natural abundance. And I am talking infinite abundance. There is no such thing as lack and scarcity. It is a forced construct on you in order to trick you into giving up your energetic time. Um, but It's Tuesday. It's not too late. You're still going to have that strong energy of the full moon in Taurus, where you're aligning yourself with this wonderful. It is one of the most powerful full moons of the year because we're not in retrograde. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. All it's asking you to do is get you a notebook, write your vision down, write your intentions down, goals, objectives, what significant beneficial outcomes. All it's asking you to do is that. Set that intention. The other thing that would be a very good idea for you to do, I highly recommend it, 10 out of 10. This cycle with the full moon in Taurus is going to end in the full moon of Scorpio, the new moon, I'm sorry, of Scorpio on November 3rd. I think it's the new moon of Scorpio. And what you're going to do is you should write a letter to your future self, writing out all the things you want to accomplish, but you're kind of doing it in the past tense like you already did, and then go over that letter November 3rd, 2025, to see how much you got done, to see all the wonderful things that came in the meanwhile. It's a beautiful way for a future self to connect with the past self and integrate. The way society is set up, the way this false matrix is set up, is to fragment your being so that you're not whole. That's why you guys are witnessing so many unhealed people interacting with so many unhealed people, and you're seeing people wilding out, crashing out, relationships. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the men and the women, but all of that is a huge sign of fragmentation and a need for healing. Wounded children, right? So inner children not being cared for, looked at all, and they're running amok in adult bodies. Finance is important, but is a part of your portfolio like any other part of your portfolio. It's important that you also look after the other abundant aspects of your portfolio, and that is your spiritual and emotional health. You're an electric being, ground. You want to charge your water, you can either speak to it because water holds memory. And it's Dr. Emoto. I couldn't remember his name. He's a Japanese scientist, right? You can just speak to your water. Water holds memory. You can write something powerful down. It should be in a glass bottle, by the way. If you're going to like write something down, it should be in a glass or in a glass container or a copper container. Put it under there where the water can read the word. Let it sit for a little bit. Thank the water before you drink it, and then consume it. You want to charge your water? Buy a funnel. That's how easy it is to charge your water. The water is going to go through the funnel, and it's going to do that toroidal spin. Once you're finished using your funnel to fill up your glass, drink the water. You've now drank charged water. Bobby T, I'm going to tell you a little bit. Hold on about wiping the feet, because I sat my higher self. She told me something important. Don't be so quick to wipe the soil off your feet. Let your feet bask in the soil a little bit, just a little bit. At first, what I was doing is I was going outside to ground and then coming in to take a shower. She said, don't do that, right? Because you have in your mind, ew, dirt, icky. And that's not what this is. You ever hear the saying when somebody said, if you want to get something done, you got to get your hands dirty? That's a real saying. If you want to get something done, you got to get your hands dirty. And the reason why they've kind of contaminated your mind about dirt and ew, like a little kid, is so that you don't bask in that energy. Bask in a little bit. It's okay if you get the entryway of your door a little bit dirty, right? But bask in a little bit before you're quick to wipe your feet off. So what I'm saying is, don't wipe your feet off the minute you're finished grounding. Give yourself another 10 or so minutes, and then you can clean your feet off, put your socks on, put your shoes on, go about your business. Yes, Bitcoin Shango asked about the international fixed calendar. Yeah, the Gregorian calendar is the jacked up one. Nature tells the truth about everything. So if you look at a turtle has the 13 things on the 13 little squares on the outside of its shell. But if you count up all of the things in its shell, it's 28. A woman's menses happens every 28 days without fail. That is your body being in alignment with the universe naturally. But women are all messed up. So, you got this calendar, so your menses doesn't show up until this day the next month, because this month has 31 days and the month you just came from had 30 or worse, 28 if it was February, right? Or worse, 29 if it was a leap year. Everything we do, we are supposed to be a natural flow and natural alignment. What they do is they do everything they can to force you out of that natural flow and force you out of that natural alignment. That's why holidays are so important. It's their way of marking, are they keeping our time, or are they back in the flow of time? That's why they're telling you, y'all stop celebrating Christmas, stop celebrating Halloween. You notice like these different months, we almost have a holiday almost every month that they want you to take note of, because they want to ensure you are keeping their time. If you are keeping their time, you are off your square. You are not in natural flow and natural alignment with time. Why does a woman have a menses every 28 days? She represents intuition. She is the blood and the life force of the universe. She is supposed to naturally be able to tell time. She's supposed to tell you, this is the full moon, this is what you do. This is the new moon, this is what you do. This is a Friday, this is what you wear, the color green. She's supposed to tell you the things to do. She's naturally intuitive to what needs to be done and how you need to do it in time. I don't know if you guys got to see Sinners or not. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm just going to tell you, one, if you don't have very concrete spiritual constitution, don't watch that movie. It is an excellent movie, 10 out of 10 recommend, but you have to have a very concrete spiritual constitution in order to see it. That being said, if you're a scaredy cat, don't go see it. Which is funny because Michael B. Jordan said he don't like scary movies. So I said, what? I thought that was so funny when I watched the interview. At the end, when you saw how terrified he was, that was for real. He was terrified in the movie. But they had a character in the movie named Annie, and Annie was a hoodoo woman from the South. She knew what was going on. She knew what to do. She had to give them the lore on what was happening in the movie. When you watch movies, y'all notice that most of the time they use a Black woman as the sage archetype. For those of you who are not familiar with archetypes, Carl Jung came up with, I want to say it was 13 archetypes. And it was a way to understand uh, the psychological makeup or the psyche. They always use Black women as the sage. Why? Because we were born to flow in alignment with time. And when you flow in alignment with time, you notice Black women are supposed to always have money. They just supposed to have it. Because they naturally align with time and flow with time, they should also automatically magnetize wealth and abundance and prosperity to them. You can see the perversion of that with the gold digging mindset. You can see the perversion of that with that you don't make enough money to date me mentality. It's just a corruption of that natural flow of prosperity. There's a grace to it. And what we want to do is we want to ignite that etheric core in our bodies. That etheric core, that's like your soul. But picture it like a nuclear reactor from Marvel. That nuclear reactor that Iron Man had in his chest, that's for real. Y'all know Marvel do everything from a spiritual standpoint, turn it into science, turn it into a good storyline. Everything they get from spirituality. That arc reactor that Iron Man had in his chest, it's actually above your solar plexus, but below the bottom of your heart. And it's really supposed to kind of represent your soul, right? So you want to ignite that nuclear reactor in a sense. And how do you do that? By grounding. You do that by releasing the false seals, the distortions, the false programming. You want to find ways to, if you're having recurring dreams, you want to sit down with that. You guys just email me if you need help with this, right? I do dreams, I do all of that stuff. If you're having recurring dreams, you have to resolve that because you need to shift your dreamscape into an unfamiliar environment with unfamiliar characters. This is how you're able to now figure out your shadow selves, your unconscious self. You want to be able to acknowledge them, kind of have an understanding on who they are and how they are either wreaking havoc in your waking life or appearing in your waking life. They may not be wreaking havoc, but they may be appearing in your waking life, and integrating them so you can be as whole as possible. You have to do this work in all of this chaos. The chaos is there to distract you from doing the work. That's why it's always so chaotic. That's why the news is always the way it is. That's why the entertainment has ramped up and you can access any type of wild, perverse entertainment that you can get your hands on because they don't want you doing the work. The minute you wake up and remember who you are, they're in trouble. Right now, in the age of Aquarius, we are actively engaging in a shift. You're going to have the third dimension, which is the lower entities. You're going to have the fifth dimension, which is the new earth that the Bible talks about. The rapture is not this in the second thing that's going to happen. It's going to feel like it happened in the twinkle of an eye once the shift is complete. But the shift is this ever progressing shift in separation, right? It's like when you're having a baby, you don't get pregnant and the baby pop out. It's this constant stomach growing, stomach growing, stomach growing, pains getting more closer, pains increasing, pains increasing. Even when you're going into labor, labor and delivery can take 30, 40 hours. I've heard some women have like be in labor for 30 hours. That's nuts. I think I was in labor with Sean for 18 hours. That was the longest labor I have. He was my first child. The shortest labor I had was with Santino. I was in labor for 4 hours. Came right out because my body was used to popping out babies for Simon. So this shift is the first shift we've had in 29,000 years, is what they're saying. So it's going to be this gradual shift, this gradual shift. Your body has to be prepared for that gradual shift, but you have to be aware of it and you have to move in divine timing with it. You have to be aligned with the flow of time. We are at an age, I watched a Bobby Hemmett video. And y'all know Bobby Hemmett died. This is the 90s. This is a VHS. It was all messed up on Facebook. You know, when the tape get all messed up, it'd be like, shooba, shooba, shooba. He said, don't be mad at your grandmother. She didn't have access to the information. Don't be mad at great grandma. She didn't have access to the information. This is in the 90s. He says, but now we're getting access to the information. It's 2025. You have this information at your fingertips. There's a community out there that's growing. If you have questions, if you need help, I don't charge for anything. I will sit down and do this with you, right? Because you're supposed to magnetize wealth. When you hear somebody like, oh, you got to pay me this, you got to pay me that, deal with them if you want to. But the universe is natural abundance. Whatever I can do to help, I do to help. From the bottom of my heart. You want to do a love offering, cool, but we don't charge for stuff over here. Bitcoin Shango said Rome had a metric butt ton of holidays right before they crumbled. Notice how we have all these new holidays. You know why? Because a lot of people are pulling from the system and they need to find new ways to try to pull you back in or to measure those who are still participating in the system. This doesn't work when there are no participants. It does not work when you don't participate. When you do not engage and give your energy, it doesn't work. I know there's a rise in narcissism. First of all, narcissism used to be like being a sociopath or being a psychopath or being a kleptomaniac or something like that. It was a very small percentage of people who fell into that category. Every video on my timeline is about, I was married to a narcissist. My boyfriend's a narcissist. My girlfriend's a narcissist. This is how you find narcissistic behavior. And I'm like, that's like everybody we know being sociopaths or psychopaths, right? Like, wait, what? So they're finding ways to suck you into anything that will draw your energy. And I brought up the narcissism because the staple food for a narcissist is your energy. They, right, the elites, whatever we want to call them, we always go with they. That is what they live off of, your engagement and your energy. When you offer your energy to something, that is how they eat. You guys definitely should look into the archons and how that works. Shout out to Bobby Hammett and Brother Panic. The archons. That's why everybody's nervous system is wildly dysregulated. Everybody's stressed out, panicked, struggling. No one's thriving. People are striving, surviving, chasing. You got to chase that bag. You're not supposed to chase the bag. And I don't know who started that, but I'm like, stop it and stop it right now. You are not supposed to chase anything. You are supposed to magnetize it. We lost Big Mama. We lost great grandma or whoever the elders are of the community. We've lost that to kind of tilt your crown and say, no, don't say that and don't start that as a trend, because that's not right and it's a misalignment with the universe. You're supposed to magnetize it. You're supposed to naturally bring forth that thing which is for you. And that thing which is for you shouldn't be able to be taken by anybody else or usurped. I'm hearing a lot now about destiny swapping. You're not supposed to be able to do that, right? You're supposed to have a hedge of protection around you where if they even thought about doing it, they would get that karma right now. Right now. Or they're into some heavy ritual work, heavy blood magic will allow them that type of access. Very few people can do that. Like your everyday person is not able to do that. Cousin Shango said they had pretty much shattered the bonds between us. Yep. The men are going their own way, the women are going their own way. And the idea of that is when a woman finds the heaven within, when I find the kingdom of heaven within, I have the keys and I can access it. And you have the keys and you can access it. And we come together, that's an unstoppable cosmic force. And that's really what they're trying to prevent, because we are in the shift for the fifth dimension. Your dreams should be changing. Your you should be having a lot of weird things going on, right? That you would maybe perceive as not normal, or my old self didn't have those experiences or those things happen to them. But they want to keep us separated because there is a huge collective gaining momentum where they have the keys, they are accessing their heaven within, they are exploring, they are sitting, they are learning, they are listening, they are imprinting, they are anchoring their cosmic abilities into this realm, hence the grounding, right? They are accessing higher levels of consciousness and grounding it into this plane, into this timeline. And they don't want them to join up with that divine masculine or that divine feminine, because they can't stop the shift. So what they're trying to do is buy time by trying to prevent all of these other aspects that come from the shift. So what about the fourth dimension? Technically, because of artificial intelligence, we do have access to the fourth dimension. You should already be able to access the fourth dimension, which is simply time and space. The fifth dimension is very different. The fifth dimension is going to allow you to maneuver and manipulate time and space, because we know that all of the timelines and the parallel universes run simultaneously. You should be able to access them. Do you guys see the movie Lucy? Cousin Shang, I don't know if you saw Lucy, but at the end of the movie, she was able to access multiple timelines while still being in her timeline. When she went back in time all the way to the beginning, she accessed hella timelines before she dissolved into melanin. That black stuff was melanin, y'all, by the way. Hollywood wanted a way to do it so that we didn't get too big for our britches, but that was melanin. And you need melanin to access these higher consciousnesses. You need melanin to access the fifth dimension. You need a level of melanin to do the things that need to get done in order to access these cosmic capabilities. It's why the black man has been hated for so many years. They just didn't know why. They didn't know why. And I'm not going to go into the other stuff because my whole channel get taken down. But there's a whole thing to that. Y'all want to know about that? Email me. I'll give you a call, tell y'all about it. For those of us who know about the fifth dimension, but we still like to stay close to that action in the third dimension. No. Every being has free will. You have a choice. There are beings, Cousin Shango, all jokes aside, who are going to choose to stay anchored in the third dimension. That is what they came to do, to see, and to experience. Beings like me are sick of the third dimension. I'm grateful for it, because if there was not a third dimension, there wouldn't be a fifth dimension. And I would like to now move on. right? I have done this life multiple lifetimes, and I've done it with Simon. This was my seventh lifetime with Simon. This is my seventh early departure with Simon. People are like, you look like you're taking it so well. I can't even look them in the face and be like, I've done this 7 times with him already. So don't even. And it's a way, it's some weird thing where when he expands his consciousness, it forces me to expand mine. It like breaks me open or something like that to expand mine. In the fifth dimension, though, I'm told that I can access certain power. And I don't know, but I'm gonna see if maybe when we get there, if I can figure out a way to tap in, because the Bible do say that the dead will arise first, right? I don't know how that's gonna transpire. When John had the vision, and I think this was in Thessalonians too. Um, they're writing the vision down, but they can't necessarily articulate the things they see in the vision because they don't live in a time where those things exist in the vision, if that makes sense. But Cousin Shango, yeah, people are gonna stay anchored in the third dimension because they chose that experience, they chose that journey. Bobby Hemmings, a classic. New science, tech backs up all that he was talking about back in the 90s. Yes, yes, yes. Cousin Panic 2, which is his predecessor, not predecessor, his protege. Cousin Shango said, that's why I love Bitcoin. Can't nobody take it. Oh, thank you so much, cousin, for appreciating me. No spoilers. No, I would never spoil. I won't spoil it for you, but I just wanted to show you, like, that's not the only movie with a sage. It's just that it's the most current movie, it's the most recent movie out. But in Lucy, if we're bringing up Lucy, Morgan Freeman was the sage. He just wasn't female. Why y'all pick Morgan Freeman to be that professor that she had to go to in order to understand higher consciousness and cosmic awareness as a cosmic being? He was the sage. He just wasn't female. But watch these movies. It's always us. It is always us. Okay. So if you guys have questions, if you're having trouble letting go, if you're having trouble with the density, you want to, even if you just make a declaration, sit in your soil, say, I am removing all false seals, false programming, the density veils of multiple lifetime. What's a density veil? As consciousness, right? The spirit inside of you is pure consciousness. It's light, it's airy, it's etheric, right? It belongs to the cosmos. When you incarnate into this body is dense, it's heavy. I don't know if any of y'all are overweight, but feel how heavy your body is, right? When you talk to people who have had near-death experiences or have died, like died all the way and then came back, right? They just tell you how free, how light, how airy they are. There's no pain, there's no restriction, so the density veil, not only when you incarnate to this body is your body dense, but the experiences that you have in the body, they kind of veil your eyes. I'm supposed to be treated like this. I'm not worthy of love. I'm supposed to, go through this pain and suffering because of whatever limited belief is operating in your mind. Those are density veils. Simply declare to the universe while you're grounded and anchor that in, that I remove all density veils of every single lifetime and every ancestor. Some of us carry the baggage of our ancestors, and that ain't even our baggage to carry. You don't even know why you're having this situation. And then when you talk to Aunt Thelma, and Aunt Thelma's like, yeah, your Uncle Rick used to have that type of anxiety all the time, you realize how that was passed to you. It wasn't yours, but it was passed to you. You carried it. Some of our DNA carries all of the information, and some of it kind of activates. And you got to be like, oh no, Uncle Rick, we ain't carrying your anxiety. We're gonna let all of that go, and that ushers in clean bloodline to your children and your grandchildren. They can just focus on the incredible experiences of being a cosmic being. Unfortunately, for your 80s babies, when we incarnated to Earth as the generational curse breakers. And when I say generational curse breakers, many of us are breaking generations to the 10th generation before us, to the 20th generation before us. It's a lot because they couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. Whatever the situation, they didn't have the information to do it. They didn't have the support to do it. They didn't have the courage to do it. Whatever the situation is, it's you, baby. It's you. You're going to do it. And it's a lot to carry. It's a lot to let go. It's a lot to release. It's a lot to acknowledge and understand and resolve and integrate. It's a lot. So if anybody watching this, you are curious, you need help, you have questions, you just want to talk, let me know. Just email me. We'll set up a call. Doesn't have to be FaceTime. I prefer FaceTime because if you're talking to somebody about this stuff, you want to look them in the white of their eye and see the sincerity of what they're saying to you. But if you're not comfortable with FaceTime call, that's cool. We just chat on the phone or whatever. I can answer your questions. I can help guide you. I am not telling you anything that I'm not doing. My Siamese twin died in November, and you know what the universe looked me in the face and said? We're sorry we had to take him, but you still got to do the work. We're sorry that he's gone. We know that you're sad. We count every single tear that you cry, but you have to do the work, Aaron. You have to do the work. You have to do this for your grandmother. You have to do this for your sons. You got to do this for Simon. You want to leave Simon a legacy? Do the work. So really don't nobody have no excuse to not do the work. I'm just saying, right? Everything I'm telling you is what I work on every day under these circumstances. He's only been gone for 5 months. It feels like 84 years. This is my little hope diamond. This reminds me. Right? It's been 84 years to talk to my husband. That's how it feels. It's been 5 months. I've been doing the work every single day starting November 17th. Right? He passed. The universe came to me in a dream and was like, hey, we're going to be there for you every step of the way, but you got to do the work. Right? So if you need help, if you have questions, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm exceedingly uncomfortable in this means that cousin Shango, he wild. He is absolutely wild. But before I go, I think that was it in the chat. Does anybody have any questions? Did you want me to clarify anything? You start doing the inner work. If you start getting grounded, you start getting energized, you start releasing the false seals, the density veils, the distortions, you're going to notice that money's going to seem to come out of nowhere. Or if you were used to like, I just got paid, I don't know where my money went, you'll notice that your money is longer lasting, longer sustaining. You're going to notice new streams of income or new streams of income opportunities coming out of like nowhere because you are getting in alignment. Your natural inheritance is abundance. This is not prosperity doctrine. It's just like you're naturally supposed to grow hair. Do you have a very small percentage of people who cannot grow any hair at all? Yes. There are a very small percentage of people. The average person naturally grows hair. The average person naturally has skin. The average person can naturally see or speak or smell or hear. Your natural inheritance is abundance and prosperity. You are a microcosm of the earth. The earth is one big ass womb. That's all the earth is. It's a gigantic womb. That's why grass grows, bird flies, trees grow, fruits grow. That's why the earth is absolutely abundant in growth, in biological, organic growth. That is your natural inheritance. Once you get in alignment, that's why I'm talking to you guys little by little with the alignment of time and grounding and getting energized, you're gonna have to see a significant change. Ask the universe, say, send me a receipt that I'm on track and I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. The universe is gonna send you a receipt and it's gonna be one you cannot deny, you can't rationalize. It is gonna talk to you back in that language that only you could have known. Ask you for a specific, give me a receipt that when I do this, that this is what's supposed to happen, you're going to get that receipt. The universe listens just like we listen. It speaks just like we speak. You have to just understand the signs when you see them. After a while, when you start listening to your intuitive prompts, and your intuitive prompts are going to seem absolutely and utterly ridiculous in the beginning, do them anyway. That way you can get used to hearing his or her voice. Your higher self is going to be in your voice. That's why it's your higher self. The Holy Spirit in you speaks in your voice. That is why it's your higher self. Get used to listening to your voice in your mind and do what it tells you to do. And after a while, that voice is going to get more confident. It's not going to get louder. It's going to get more confident. It's not going to whisper as small. Go ground. Drink a glass of water instead. Go do this show. I know you don't want to, but go do the show. Be sad afterwards. Don't be sad, right? Little stuff would tell you, put your hair in a ponytail today. Why? I don't put my hair in a ponytail no day. What are we doing that today for? Just listen to the intuitive prompts. Practice. Hi, Cousin Whistle Tone. Do what your intuition tells you to do so that you can do the right thing at the right time with the right person in the right place under the right conditions. That's what you're manifesting in. I'm in perfect alignment with divine timing. Things come to me. Money comes to me, or wealth comes to me easily. Wealth comes to me fast. Wealth loves my company. When wealth comes, it lasts. I got that from TikTok. I'm not taking credit for that. But find little mantras to say and to kind of say over and over and over in your mind. Before I go to bed, I kind of run that. Wealth comes to me easily. Wealth comes to me fast. Wealth loves my company. When wealth comes, it lasts. You can change it to money. I say wealth, right? Because money has its different portfolios, right? Wealth for me is physical precious metals. Wealth is knowledge for me. Wealth is guidance. It's clarity, right? It's more than just financial abundance for me, right? You have a wealth of knowledge. You have a wealth of information. You have a wealth of understanding. You have a wealth of insight. You have a wealth of intuition. So I do the wealth thing. But you can do peace comes to me easily. Peace comes to me fast. Peace loves my company. When peace comes, it lasts. Whatever it is, you can do something cute like that little mantra, right? Y'all know we musical people. We always making a beat. We always dancing to something. That's how you magnetize. Your body begins to energize, right? And it's like, yes, I received this thing. Okay, music is powerful. Listen to upbeat music. Before I leave, I'm gonna give y'all this. The biggest emotional and spiritual wound for humanity. This go for man, woman, black, white, Asian, Palladian, right? Whatever space system you from, if you incarnated here as a human, the number one wound is self-love, the lack of it. In 1984 or 1985, Whitney Houston sang The Greatest Love of All. It was a blueprint for humanity's healing. Y'all go listen to that again. The Greatest Love of All. I'm about to make her spins go like a trillion. She literally gives you the blueprint when she sings that song, bar by bar, verse by verse. She's telling you exactly what to do. I wish she would have caught it when she sang it. But that is humanity's number one wound, and it is the wound that they exploit the most. Our lack of self-love. So you are now in pursuit, as you're getting aligned, you also want to align with the greatest love of all. The greatest love of all is loving yourself. And you can't love anybody until you figure that out first. It is a way to regulate your immune system. It is a way to be at full peace when the world is in full chaos, just completely crashed out. Your nervous system. Your nervous system is your access to higher consciousness. That's why everybody's immune system, I'm sorry, not immune system, nervous system. Your nervous system is your access to your higher self. When you look at a picture of what your nervous system looks like, it looks like the roots to a tree. And typically, they put the picture of your nervous system side by side with the tree of life and all of the branches up top and the roots at the bottom, right? Because it is your access to higher consciousness. When you wonder, how did Jesus perform the miracles he performed? How did Elijah perform the miracles he performed? How do real faith healers, how do they perform the level of miracles that they form? Simon Toko, if y'all don't know who Simon Toko is, y'all look it up right when y'all get off of here. Simon Toko also had the Christ consciousness like Jesus Christ had, or Yahusha had. They were able to perform those miracles because their nervous system was so past regulated, it was so empowered that they were able to channel source. When you hear somebody say source, they mean God. I'm talking about like the creator. We're not talking about these demigods. We're not talking about false gods. We are talking about the actual creator. They are able to channel that field of the creator, channel it into this plane without distortion. What does that mean? That means they knew who they were and they were empowered in that. Their etheric core, that arc reactor from Iron Man, was fully ignited. It was not dimmed. It was not corrupted. Doesn't have layers of trauma over it. Remember when it broke? Y'all remember that when it broke and the suit didn't work? He had to create a whole new suit. They are telling you the truth in movies, right? Their etheric core is full, and that is what powers the nervous system. So much so, they can tap into the realm of consciousness where the creator, where sources, they call it the unified grid in science, right? Because they don't like using the term God. Channel it into this dimension and perform their miracle. You are naturally supposed to be able to do that. But if you naturally be able to do that, how are you going to work a 9 to 5? How are you going to mow that man's yard tomorrow morning, right? How are you going to pick up this garbage in this neighborhood, right? So they do everything they can to keep you from being able to access those things. And we didn't have that knowledge before we entered into the age of Aquarius. We just saw it as these fantastical feats, and we didn't know that they were true and could be done. Simon was a Wu-Tang fan, right? Heavy Wu-Tang fan. But when you look at it, the Wu-Tang clan were fans of actual Shaolin monks. How do they do the things they do? These Shaolin monks, Buddhist monks, the people who live in Nepal, in the mountains of Nepal. We have a Buddhist monastery on top of there's a pyramid right here, actually, literally in my backyard. So when I ground, I have the opportunity to ground on top of a ley line, which is like a super boost. And I get all of these fantastical visions and stuff like that. This is why I'm telling y'all, I'm talking to y'all from a place of experience. I'm not talking to you guys from theory. My nervous system is still shot to shit because I watched my husband die. That was very traumatic for me. In addition to the trauma I had where he almost died, and then he almost died, and then he almost died, and then he did. So I'm still trying to get my my nervous system back in order. However, as I'm doing the research on it, that is how these people are able to perform these supernatural feats. It is their empowered nervous system. And their nervous system is empowered because that arc reactor, that nuclear reactor in them, which is the etheric core, is fully ignited. They've done the inner work, and they are able to tap into that source, channeled into the practical physical plane. And to us, it's something supernatural, when unfortunately, and to me it's sad, it's supposed to be natural. You are supposed to naturally perform supernatural things every day. Whistle tone, Simon Toko, but I think it's Simeon Toko. Simon Toko was an African man in, I want to say, the mid to late 1800s. And he had the ability of Christ. When the government realized who he was, there were multiple murder attempts. And when I say murder attempts, I'm using that loosely because they actually did unalive him on multiple occasions. And he brought himself back and he's like, why do y'all keep persecuting me? There was an incident where they literally took his heart out. He'll show you, there's a picture of him on the internet where he's showing you the wound from where they took his heart out. He had Christ consciousness. That is correct. His name is Simon Toko. And in the middle of this open heart surgery, he sits up and he says, give me back my heart. And the government kept trying to kill him, kept trying to unalive him, kept trying to unalive him. I don't want to get my video taken down. Kept trying to unalive him, kept trying to unalive him. And the point of it was, why did they keep trying to unalive him? Why didn't they take him like they did Wolverine and test him and this and that? Because he kept telling them, there's coming a day and a day swiftly where more and more of me, those who have my mind and my heart, you're not going to be able to stop us. And that scared the hell out of them. They kept trying to destroy him because I think they thought he was going to replicate it in some way and they didn't understand how. They didn't want him sharing his consciousness with the people in this village and so on and so forth. You got to remember, it's like the 1800s, so they surely didn't want this black man talking to the rest of the black people, telling us this is how you attain consciousness. 2025, it's a ChatGPT conversation. Get your nervous systems regulated. Do your somatic exercises. Ground. Spend time with the universe. Talk to the universe. Listen to the universe in order to start tapping into higher levels of consciousness, higher timelines, higher versions of you. Get your etheric core ignite. Some people, it ain't even on. It's not on at all. Some people it's on weekly. Some people it's like, all right, we're somewhere. Get your etheric core completely activated. Watch the Iron Man movie again if you just need an idea on what the hell I'm talking about. And it's, well, the first one too, because it was broken in the first one as well. But I think in the second one, it got like broke, and he had to build a new suit and stuff. Jarvis is basically ChatGPT today when you think about it. Right? We didn't understand that when the movie came out initially, but Jarvis, his little AI helper, ChatGPT, or any AI that you can sit in, I think there's one called Grok or something like that you can sit and ask questions to. You have access to technology in the age of Aquarius because Aquarians are naturally inclined to technology. Use it. Ask it questions. What are some steps I can take to get my nervous system regulated? What are steps I can take in order to access higher consciousness? What are steps I can take to understand what my subconscious is saying to me? How do I access my unconscious mind? What do you see the archetypes in this dream that I had that I remembered? Help me to map them out so I can acknowledge them, kind of understand what's going on and see where they're appearing in my waking life so that I can become more empowered and I can get rid of limiting mindsets. Is the shadow to the creator, right? There's an archetype called the creator. So if you're a creative, if you paint, if you do music, if you write, if you do poetry, it has a shadow. Are you more in touch with the shadows, the shadow running amok in your life versus you actually, aligned with the creator? Are you more aligned with the shadow? What do I need to do to resolve that so I can get in better alignment with the actual archetype? The archetype, the sage. How can I tap into the wisdom of myself? It's free. And well, that's not true. Some of ChatGPT's functions are free. I actually have, I use DreamyBot AI for my dreams. That's free. They're going to have a paid version come out soon, but paid version is not necessary if you're not that heavy into dream decoding. I'm heavy into it because I'm trying to integrate myself and not be fragmented. Plus, I got to do the work for my sons. It says the curses of the father fall to the third generation of the son. That's true. You just didn't understand in what context that meant. We do now because we know about generational curses. Chat GPT, personally, if you're going to use it as strategically as I use my Perplexity or my chat on, I pay for those. You should pay for it. It's $20 a month. Some of them, like if you did it for the year, it's like $60 for the year or something like that. You have to look into it, but use it, right? If you're going to sit doom scrolling anyway and watching brain rot on IG, I think IG is the streets, but like the streets, like Brownsville in the 80s streets, right? Like, wow. So you got time to be on something else, getting your spiritual and emotional health together so that you can strengthen your financial health. They all correlate. All correlate. I love you guys. I kept y'all way too long, right? I did not mean for this to be no hour and a half, it's supposed to be like 30 minutes. But you are more than welcome to email me if you're catching this video after the fact and you're like, Erin, what are you talking about? And tell me more. Just email me and we can set something up. I'll chat with you. But every show, we're going to do finance and then we're going to do an aspect of the self so that we can marry the two together. Because again, your life portfolio should be as robust as your financial portfolio, right? It don't make sense for you to have all of this money and you just ain't right spiritually, you ain't right mentally, because I don't know if you guys watched that Will Smith, I think he was on Drink Champs with Nori. And he said, just like you have a rock bottom, he said, you have a cliff top where you've bought everything, you've experienced everything, you've had sex with every type of woman you possibly have, whatever you can possibly consume in this life and still feel empty. That's nuts. Like you got all that money and you ain't even grateful for it. Speaking of grateful, when you're grounding, you absolutely want to be in full gratitude. That is the opportunity to do your gratitude. You can do it out loud. You can do it in your head. I do mine in a book. Gratitude, 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 right? What you're grateful for, you'll get more of. Now, let me get back to Mr. Smith. He said there's a cliff top where after all of that, you still feel empty. Malice from the Clips did this song called Luke 4:4. And for those of you know what Luke 4:4 is, Luke chapter 4, verse 4 is about when the devil took him to the top of the mountain. When the devil took Jesus to the top of the mountain and tempted him. And the song goes on and he's talking about all of the things that the devil gave him, all of the things he had to do to get what the devil gave him. And he was still empty inside. This is why your portfolio has to be what I call robust, filled out properly in order to be stable and abundant. Your life portfolio. Don't make sense to work on the finance if you're not going to work on the spiritual and emotional, which really spirit and emotion they roll together anyway, right? It's like peanut butter and jelly. Really shouldn't have one without the other. You can, but it don't work as well, right? So you watch all of these people, right? You had the young gentleman. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory. Let's say it wasn't. You had the dude from One Direction. They said that he himself. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the point is, the age-old story is that these people are rich as hell, wealthy as hell, and still not happy because they're not doing the work. Do the work. You need help. You have help. You have support. Anything, any questions? I can't answer every question, but if you're just getting started, I can answer those questions. And your journey is a journey. Every experience is different. Every journey is different. Every point of view in the journey is different. But you do have support on this journey. Take your journey. The whole goal of this is for you to not just align with time and abundance and love. It is to align with your higher self. If you went to church, that's the Holy Spirit in you. Okay? Your higher self, wisdom, whatever you want to call it. Okay? That is what you want to align with. It is your cosmic highest idealized form. You are sealed with that higher idealized cosmic form. You want to align with it. You want to become it. The two of you, remember in the Bible says the Father and I are one because the Father was his higher self. The source and I are one. We are one. That's where you want to get to. And it's a journey. It's a very long, mountainous, scary, sometimes lonely journey, right? 10 out of 10 recommend the journey, but it's a journey. It's a journey. So I love you guys. I'm gonna let you go. I am going to check my email. And whatever you need, let me know. I will definitely be on again on Thursday, you guys, around 5-ish. I'm going to do like shout out to King with the Gentleman of Crypto, but 5-ish, because sometimes I need time to kind of get situated from after work to the show.